I was a rich second-generation heir from a wealthy family, completely devoted to studying and climbing higher. But on the very first day of school, the beautiful new transfer student publicly called me out by name. Standing on the stage, she declared, "George, I transferred to this school for one reason only, and that is, to take your number one spot and become the real strong female lead." As she spoke, she turned toward my childhood friend, Willow, and continued, "I want everyone to know this. Girls shouldn't be defined by others, and they definitely shouldn't be trapped in some script about marriage and having children. We don't exist to please anyone. We don't rely on anyone. In this lifetime, we should only be the protagonists of our own stories." Some girls in the audience immediately cheered. The winds of feminism have swept away my tears. She looked at me with open disdain, her face full of contempt. But everyone in a city one high school knew I was a legend. Every single exam, I was always first place. So after the first monthly exam, she lost to me by 2 points and collapsed onto her desk crying. My classmates hurried to comfort her. "It's okay, only 2 points. You'll definitely beat him next time." Even my childhood friend Willow criticized me. "You're always this cold-hearted. No wonder you don't have any friends." The transfer student raised her reddened eyes stubbornly and said, "George, what's the point of winning exams? You still don't even have friends. Next time, I'll definitely surpass you." Looking at the crowd united against me as if we shared some common enemy, my expression remained indifferent. Word by word, I replied, "Oh, next time, I'll beat you by 20 points. Chapter 01. The moment my words fell, Maria's barely restrained tears burst out again, covering her face. She trembled as she cried. The people beside her rushed to hand her tissues and comfort her. I withdrew my gaze, pulled out a fresh math paper, and started working on it. Willow finally couldn't hold herself back anymore. She strode over to me and snatched my exam paper away. Annoyed, she said, "George, that's enough. She's already crying this hard." "Fine, maybe you won't comfort her, but did you really have to provoke her too? So what if your grades are good? Bullying girls like this will only make everyone hate you more." Frowning, I grabbed my paper back and replied coldly, "Try using some logic. Not going easy on her isn't bullying her. If she's not as capable, then she should work harder. What's the point of crying? Should I pity her and intentionally throw the exam? And whether you all hate me or not is your business. I don't live my life just to make you happy." My merciless words made Willow's face turn ugly. Maria covered her face and ran out of the classroom. Several classmates followed after her. Furious, Willow threw down one final sentence. "Then spend your whole life clinging to your precious first place." After that, she chased after Maria as well. Without even lifting my head, I replied, "Thanks for the blessing." Willow froze for a second before slamming the classroom door shut with force. The surrounding classmates looked at me with contempt and anger in their eyes. I acted as if I noticed nothing. Sometimes, jealousy is just another form of admiration. I knew plenty of people couldn't stand me. From the very first day of high school, I had been ranked first in the entire school. I entered a city one high school as the top scorer in the entire city, 10 points ahead of second place, and for the next 2 years, I became the school's living legend. Every exam, every time, first place. Not only academics, speeches, competitions, contests, I took first in everything. You could say I had no weaknesses in academics, athletics, leadership, or talent, and that was exactly why so many people disliked me. They said I was too aggressive, too ambitious. But ever since I was born, the word defeat never existed in my dictionary. I loved competition. I loved standing at the very top of the pyramid. I wanted to climb even higher. Since someone had to be number one, why couldn't that person be me? Besides, heaven had already given me incredible advantages. Both my parents graduated from elite universities. Their IQs both tested above 140. The awards and trophies they earned filled an entire room in our house. Growing up, the phrase my father said to me most often was, "I believe in you. You can definitely do it." I inherited their brilliant minds, along with their unstoppable ambition, combined with my relentless effort. That was what brought me to where I stood today. When someone shines too brightly, they stop fitting in, and people who don't fit in become outsiders. Outsiders get attacked, but I didn't care, because my family was happy and loving, and my parents loved me deeply. So today, I simply treated all their words like meaningless bullshit. Still, the fact that Maria had only lost to me by 2 points gave me both pressure and excitement. My previous opponents had all been too weak. This time, I hoped she would actually follow through on her words and persist until the very end. After all, during the opening ceremony for senior year, she had pointed at me and declared, "I came to this school for one goal only, to take your first place away." Chapter 02. At the time, when I heard those words, I didn't feel provoked. I felt excited. Honestly, in that moment, I truly admired her. I was genuinely looking forward to seeing what kind of person this so-called strong female lead really was. Just like me, her eyes were filled with ambition, but afterward, she started disappointing me a little. She was different from me. I was usually quiet and reserved in class because I wanted to focus entirely on studying, but she was warm, lively, and outgoing. Very quickly, she became friends with almost everyone in the class, including Willow, my so-called childhood friend. Her family lived next door to mine. Our parents were merely acquaintances who nodded at each other in passing, not particularly close. But ever since kindergarten, she had attached herself to me, because I once chased away a chubby kid who stole her toy. Later, through coincidence after coincidence, we kept ending up in the same schools. Every time, she would tell people I was her childhood friend and that we were super close. At first, I would explain that we were just neighbors, but she was absurdly persistent, and since she never really crossed any boundaries, I eventually stopped wasting energy correcting people and simply let her do whatever she wanted. Maria clearly clicked with Willow immediately. The two of them quickly became best friends, and sometimes I'd see them fooling around together. Willow always laughed so happily around her. As they grew closer and closer, I often saw them shopping together or buying snacks after school. Honestly, it even gave me the strange feeling that Maria, the strong female lead, was getting led astray by Willow, the classic toxic bestie, and because I didn't want to lose Maria as a rival, I ended up doing something incredibly stupid. One day after school, I stopped her before she went out singing karaoke with Willow. I told her that if she kept wasting time like this, she'd never beat me or take my first place away. Maria looked at me with pure disdain. She snorted coldly and said, "What? Now you regret it because your little friend stopped paying attention to you? Well, too bad. That's what happens when you don't cherish people. Regret is useless now. Late affection is cheaper than dirt, you know that. I'm telling you right now, Willow isn't the same love-struck girl she used to be. She's awakened now." The moment she finished speaking, I wanted to go back 5 minutes and slap myself. Seriously, why the hell did I stick my nose into their business? I stopped wasting my breath, slung my backpack over my shoulder, and turned to leave, only to run straight into Willow. I had no idea how much she had overheard, but when she saw me, she lifted her chin arrogantly. I said nothing and kept walking forward. Then Willow suddenly spoke. "Starting tomorrow, I'm not going to school with you anymore." I didn't even pause my steps. Back when high school first started, Willow and I were in the same class. Every morning, she would wait for me to leave the house, then shamelessly squeeze herself into the back seat of the car without asking. She called it giving me a chance to show gentlemanly manners. So honestly, I had no idea what she wanted me to feel after saying that. If anything, I thanked heaven itself. Finally, I wouldn't have to listen to her non-stop chatter in my ear every morning anymore. She was seriously interfering with my English vocabulary memorization. From that day onward, Willow started distancing herself from me. Some girls in class even mocked me about it. Well, the heartless jerk's finally gonna regret it now. I can't wait to see him desperately crawling back to chase Willow. I was speechless. Chase her back? What the hell for? I was never interested in her in the first place. At the time, I couldn't even be bothered responding to such stupid gossip, so I simply stayed silent. But somehow, the girls in class interpreted my silence as me putting on an act, claiming I was obviously heartbroken but stubbornly pretending to be fine. And then everything exploded after the results of the first monthly exam came out. I scored 2 points higher than Maria. Maria held her exam paper and collapsed onto her desk crying. Immediately, classmates gathered around to comfort her. To get a score like this, us girls are already amazing. "Oh, and I'm not saying boys are amazing too," another girl added. "You already beat so many people. It's only 2 points. Next time you'll definitely surpass him." Since I had already expected the result, I calmly put away my test paper. But unexpectedly, Willow rushed over and accused me of being cold-blooded, saying I was bullying girls. And Maria, seemingly encouraged by everyone around her, raised her reddened eyes and stubbornly declared to me, "George, what's the point of winning exams? Nobody even likes you. I have my classmates' encouragement and support. Next time, I'll definitely surpass you." For a moment, I was so speechless I almost laughed. Does he seriously think he's some hot-blooded idiot from an anime? Good. Maria had successfully awakened my competitive spirit, especially because with that kind of attitude, she still only scored 2 points lower than me. I had to make her understand what a complete dimensionality gap looked like. Chapter 03. This time, I'll admit it, I underestimated her. I only scored 700 points. Maria scored 698. So next time, I was going above 720. That was already the score level of a provincial top scorer. Perfect. Actually challenging. Thinking that, I pulled out my phone and sent my mom a message. "Mom, find me an English tutor. My science scores were practically perfect." Only my English dragged me down a little. I had only scored 130. Next time, I wanted that number to become 150. Chapter 04. After organizing my plans and setting my goals, Maria and Willow returned. Willow was carrying a huge bag of snacks. Maria held a strawberry milk in her hand while chatting and laughing with her. Once they entered the classroom, Maria instructed Willow to hand out the snacks to the girls. Then she suddenly walked up to the podium, bowed toward the class, and said, "Thank you, everyone, for encouraging me earlier. I'll keep working hard." Then her tone shifted. "George, I'll make you pay for your arrogance." Pointing at me, she declared, "If I surpass you in the next exam, you'll apologize in front of me, Willow, and everyone else." The moment she finished speaking, thunderous applause erupted throughout the classroom. The girls below started chanting her name, until someone loudly shouted, "Go, Maria. I've been sick of that George for ages. I seriously don't get what he's always acting so arrogant for. What a try-hard dude." The instant those words came out, the classroom fell silent. Everyone turned to look at me, waiting to see my reaction. TCH. Sorry for unintentionally outclassing all of you, I guess. Slowly, I capped my pen. Then I raised my eyes and swept my gaze across the room. My voice wasn't loud, but it was crystal clear. "Sure, but I have one condition." I paused deliberately. The entire class held their breath, waiting for my comeback. Then I said, "If you lose again next time, don't cry about it." I delivered the second half casually and calmly. Several boys in the class instantly failed to hold back their laughter. Maria's face flushed red from anger. Pointing at me, she stammered, You. My words made it obvious that I didn't take her seriously at all. "So crazy." I heard someone whisper softly nearby. "Funny, if you're not crazy at 17, are you supposed to wait until 70? Without me, George." The college entrance exam world would have stayed in eternal darkness. Maria still looked like she wanted to say more, but suddenly, the class bell rang, and the homeroom teacher walked in through the door. The moment he saw her standing there, he frowned. "What are you doing up there? Class has started. Go back to your seat." Maria returned to her seat. As she passed me, she lifted her chin high, her face filled with disdain. The homeroom teacher then said, "Next week, there's a citywide physics competition. Same as before. George, you'll go." He looked toward me. I was just about to nod, when Maria suddenly shot her hand high into the air. "Mr. Lee, I want to sign up too." The teacher turned toward her. She straightened her back even more, her hand raised proudly. The teacher nodded. "I didn't expect someone to volunteer this time." "Sure, you can go with George." There was obvious appreciation in his eyes. This competition had been held for 3 years. Every single time, I was the only participant from our class, because I could score full marks in physics. Most people weren't interested in humiliating themselves. Maria was clearly determined to challenge me head-on, even though her physics wasn't as good as mine. I was genuinely looking forward to seeing how she performed. Chapter 05. After that day, my already terrible popularity got even worse. People in class started isolating me. Even my desk mate, a timid and introverted girl, found an excuse to move to another seat. Before leaving, she secretly slipped me a note. "Sorry, I can't stand up against them." I crumpled the note into a ball. Then I looked toward the smug-looking Maria sitting behind me. Did she seriously think this kind of trick could affect me? I stood up and flicked the paper ball toward the back like a basketball shot. The paper grazed past her shoulder and landed perfectly in the trash can behind her. "Sorry," I shrugged casually. Maria's face instantly turned red with anger. At first, I thought this time Maria would finally start studying seriously, but she still spent every day chatting, laughing, and fooling around with Willow and the others. Whenever people asked why she was so confident, she would say meaningfully, "I'm not some bookworm who only knows how to study to death. Don't worry, I'll definitely win." I had no idea where her confidence came from, but the thought of crushing that confidence made my blood boil with excitement. Then the physics competition results came out. She was still 2 points behind me. During self-study period, when the homeroom teacher stood at the podium and handed me the certificate and trophy, Maria's eyes turned red again. At least this time she didn't cry. That counted as progress. As she walked back to her seat, I heard Willow quietly comforting her. "It's okay, you're already amazing. You were only 2 points away from a perfect score." I spoke coolly from the side. 2 points in one subject. Across 6 subjects, that's 12 points. "You still think you can beat me next exam?" The moment my words landed, Maria finally broke down again and buried her face while sobbing. I had never realized someone's crying could sound so beautiful. Since she loved crying that much, then she might as well cry to her heart's content. I placed the trophy on the upper right corner of my desk, directly facing Maria's seat, so she could admire it properly, ignoring Willow's resentful glare behind me. I put on my headphones and started practicing English listening exercises. Maybe this loss really hit Maria hard, because she actually started getting serious. During class, she stopped chatting and passing notes with classmates and instead focused on taking notes carefully. Even during breaks, she kept studying non-stop. Sometimes she even skipped lunch just to finish another practice paper. After a while, her complexion visibly worsened. Now this looked more like it. If she wanted to defeat me, she couldn't just rely on empty talk. But seeing her like this, her bestie Willow was obviously unhappy about it. The day before midterms, Willow stopped me. She said, "George, so what if you lose once?" After hearing that, I froze for a second. She snorted coldly, "George, is bullying girls really that fun to you? You're a man. What's wrong with letting her win once?" The moment she finished speaking, I burst out laughing. Let her win. I laughed. Is a strong female lead something you get by being handed victories? Willow, I've realized you seriously don't have a brain. The reason I win is because I'm smart, capable, and give everything I have every single time I earned it. Southwest now getting first place makes someone a strong female lead, but if she can't get first place, suddenly it means I'm bullying her. If your definition of a strong female lead is that men must yield to women and women must always come first, then listen carefully. I am bullying her, and what I'm bullying is your so-called strong female lead. You're always like this. Willow suddenly raised her voice sharply. You don't care about anyone else. You only think about yourself. All you can see is yourself. Maria's been miserable because of you lately. She can't eat. She can't sleep. She's already lost several pounds. You keep provoking her over and over again. Don't you feel even a little guilty? I cut her off. Nobody forced her. My expression turned cold. She was the one who said she wanted to beat me. She was the one who wanted to take my first place. The only thing I did was accept her challenge. Everything you said today doesn't insult me. It insults her. Deep down, you never truly believed she could beat me. And that is the real insult to women. The moment she heard those words, Willow's expression froze. For a brief moment, she was completely speechless. Then I turned around and walked away. Chapter 06. The next day, during the exam, I answered every single question carefully. Then I checked my paper 3 times. During this period, I had been waking up early every day to jog while listening to English radio broadcasts. At night, I simulated a full English exam before sleeping. I felt pretty confident that my English score would finally stabilize this time. After finishing my final review, I capped my pen. Then I heard the sound of an ambulance outside. I didn't pay much attention to it. Only after the exam ended did I learn that Maria had fainted in the examination hall. The entire class was buzzing with discussion. Some classmates who were close to Maria started discussing whether they should visit her. Seeing how completely indifferent I looked, a few people began whispering bitterly behind my back. Since Maria couldn't finish the exam this time, George gets first place again. So annoying. He won again. Maria worked way harder this time. Last time she only lost by 2 points. She actually had a chance this time. He's just lucky. This victory doesn't even count. Then another female voice suddenly cut in. I think Maria chickened out under pressure. Someone continued. If you're unhappy about it, then beat George yourselves. What's the point of riding on someone else's momentum like a parasite? Her honor can't be shared with you anyway. I turned around and realized it was Anna. Before Maria transferred here, Anna had always been second place in class. We had barely spoken before. In my memory, she was always sitting quietly at her desk reading books. I hadn't expected her to speak up for me. The people who had been gossiping moments earlier instantly fell silent. I mouthed a silent thank you to her. Anna nodded lightly before returning to her seat. 3 days later, when the scores were released, Maria finally returned to school as well. On the school honor board, I remained firmly at the top with a score of 725. Meanwhile, Willow had dropped 10 entire ranks. When I went to the office to pick up some materials, I happened to overhear the homeroom teacher scolding Willow and Maria. Some students told me you two have been deliberately stirring up gender conflict in class lately. I didn't believe it at first. But Willow, look at this essay of yours. What do you mean by, The Little Mermaid diminishes female marine species and simps for human men? You weren't like this before, Willow. And look at your grades this time, you dropped 10 ranks. Your students, your priority should be studying, not obsessing over all this nonsense. And Maria, during the opening ceremony you said you wanted to take George's first place away. Then you should focus even harder on studying. You're talented, but your attitude toward learning also needs to improve. Otherwise, how are you supposed to catch up to George? The moment she heard my name, Maria bit her lip, her face full of grievance. Willow reacted even more intensely. Mr. Lee, I don't think what you said is right. Maria has already worked incredibly hard. She pushed herself so far she literally fainted during the exam. I think she's more impressive and more outstanding than George. The moment she said that, Maria looked at Willow with obvious admiration and approval. Then she nodded and spoke up too. Teacher, what gives you the right to say I can't surpass George? Don't you think that mindset is male-centered and misogynistic? I'll prove that you're wrong. After saying that, the two of them held hands and walked straight out in front of the homeroom teacher, completely ignoring how dark his face had become. At the doorway, they brushed past me. Willow snorted coldly. George, happy now? I froze for a moment. Then once I understood what she meant, disgust rose in my throat like I had swallowed a fly whole. Willow actually thought I had snitched on them, watching their figures walk farther away. I took a deep breath. Stay calm, stay calm. No point getting sick over idiots when nobody's paying the medical bills anyway. Chapter 07. After calming myself down, I finally entered the office. From that day onward, Willow and Maria formed their own little clique, spending every day discussing how to fight for women's rights, and they very deliberately held those conversations loudly in front of me. All I felt was pity. How was this any different from self-destruction? One morning, Willow walked into the classroom carrying a box. Inside were invitations to her 18th birthday party. She handed one out to every single person, but when it came to me, she skipped right over me. Without saying a single word, I only found her childish. In the past, every birthday she had practically begged me to celebrate with her, because her parents were always away on business trips, leaving her alone at home. She once told me she didn't want to spend her birthday lonely and by herself. Before senior year started, she had even specifically told me, "You absolutely have to come to my 18th birthday. I have something important to tell you." Apparently now, she no longer needed me there. When I got home, I threw the birthday gift I had already prepared into the trash. People walking different paths can never truly work together, and I had never been the type to cling desperately to anyone. Willow's 18th birthday party was held on a grand scale. Out of the entire class, only 2 people didn't attend. One was me, the other was Anna. On social media, Willow uploaded a set of photos. Caption: "Thankful for meeting you. I'm so lucky to have you. You're the true number one in my heart, and the best gift of my 18th birthday. Never lower your head. Never admit defeat. You'll always be a princess. Women support women." In the photos, surrounded by classmates, she and Maria wore princess crowns together. I frowned, then directly deleted and blocked her account. Eventually, the homeroom teacher found out about the clique Maria and Willow had formed in class. He called both of them into the office and warned them that if they continued behaving like this, he would notify their parents. Maria got so scared she started crying, but Willow stepped protectively in front of her and said, "Mr. Lee, final exams are coming soon. I can guarantee you that this time, I'll place in the top 5, and Maria will take first place. We'll prove to you that we're not wrong. All we've ever fought for is fairness, and if we fail, we'll withdraw from school." The classmate relaying this story spoke with sparkling eyes full of admiration. Girls really are born with the ability to love people. Maria woke Willow up, and now Willow protects Maria too. Ah, Willow is so amazing. Seriously, how did she ever fall for a trash guy like that before? The implication in her words was obvious. I was genuinely getting irritated enough to laugh. It was one thing for those two to constantly act dramatic, but somehow they always had to drag me into it too. Fine then. Sorry about this. I'm gonna outgrind all of you. Chapter 08. After school, I went home and furiously memorized 100 English vocabulary words. Then I completed 3 full sets of practice papers, putting all my focus into preparing for final exams. I studied until I completely lost track of everything else. On the morning of finals, just as I walked out the door, I ran into Willow, who was also heading to school. The moment she saw me, she frowned. "You stayed up late again." I ignored her. Suddenly, she shoved a warm bag of milk into my hands. Then, somewhat awkwardly, she said, "George, for the past 15 years, I've always considered you my best friend. There's no need for things between us to become this ugly. Honestly, if you got to know Maria better, you'd realize she's actually a really good person. Good luck on your exams." Her words sounded sincere. I quietly responded with an Truthfully, I really had considered Willow a friend before. Human hearts aren't made of stone. After knowing someone for over a decade, it's impossible to feel absolutely nothing. Thinking of that, I sincerely replied, "You too." Hearing my response, Willow looked slightly unnatural. Then she quickly turned around and ran downstairs. But only half an hour after the first exam started, I suddenly felt dizzy and overwhelmingly sleepy. My brain felt like it had been stirred into mush. It was exactly like the sensation I got after taking cold medicine. At that moment, I thought back to Willow's strange behavior that morning, and instantly understood. There had been something wrong with the milk. Impressive, Willow, to use such a cheap, disgusting trick, and even play the emotional card while doing it. But she still underestimated me. I pulled out the mint candies from my pencil case and shoved a handful into my mouth. Luckily, my preparation had been more than enough. I forced myself to stay conscious and finished every single question, the moment the bell signaling the end of the morning exam rang. I was the first person to hand in my paper. Then I rushed straight to the restroom and splashed cold water over my face repeatedly, looking at my miserable reflection in the mirror. I wiped away the water droplets from my face. Then, I walked to the examination room next door. I called Willow outside, and then, fast, precise, ruthless, I slapped her across the face. Her cheek instantly turned red. She stared at me in shock. "George, you actually hit me." Impatiently, I raised a hand to cut her off. "The fuck did you drug me with?" I stared at her coldly, but instead of looking ashamed, Willow lifted her chin proudly and said, "George, you're too stubborn. You never leave room for anyone else. So what if you lose once?" I admit I put cold medicine in the milk, but so what? First, you have no evidence. Second, I can easily explain it by saying I was worried about your health because you were sick. I truly hadn't expected Willow to be this shameless. I let out a cold laugh. "So this is how you girls support each other?" Willow didn't deny it. In fact, she even sounded self-righteous. "The morning exam is already over. No matter what you say now, it's useless. George, I'm not trying to hurt you. I just want you to learn how to be considerate toward girls. Maria doesn't have parents. She only has a grandmother. It wasn't easy for her to transfer to this school. For you, this is just one insignificant exam anyway. You'll still get countless first places in the future." The more Willow spoke, the more passionate she became, until suddenly, I laughed out loud and interrupted her. Then I said, "I've known you for 15 years, and somehow I never realized you were such a complete idiot. Willow, you still don't understand me very well. George, will never lose." After saying that, I turned around and walked away cleanly without hesitation. Behind me, Willow's voice suddenly sounded panicked. "What do you mean? Stop pretending to be tough, George." Chapter 09. After walking to a place where she couldn't see me anymore, I pulled out my phone and stopped the recording. People who think they're clever are usually the stupidest of all. Even now, Willow probably still thought she had victory completely secured. After all the exams ended, that very night, Maria, Willow, and the classmates close to them went to a karaoke club to celebrate. Everyone believed Maria was guaranteed to take first place this time, because after I called Willow out during yesterday morning's exam, she returned to the testing room with red-rimmed eyes, and no matter how people questioned her afterward, she refused to explain anything. She only said that I had performed badly on the exam and decided to blame her for it. So naturally, those classmates concluded that I had lost because I wasn't good enough and completely snapped afterward. They were all waiting for the results to be released, waiting to see me break down, waiting to laugh at me, and after I took leave the next day and didn't show up at school, they became even more convinced. Everyone said I was too embarrassed to face people and had hidden away. Anna was the one who told me all this. She also asked whether I was okay. Barely conscious, I struggled to reply with a single message: "I'm fine." Then I drifted back into sleep again. Yes, after the exams ended, I got sick, a fever of 39 degrees Celsius. I spent the entire day sleeping at home, my whole body aching. The next day, the fever finally subsided. I solved a few math problems. The process was concise, the answers were correct, and I could even come up with a second method of solving them. Good, that meant I had recovered. I was going back to school. My mom tried persuading me not to push myself so hard. She said it was okay to rest occasionally and relax a little. Then she winked at me meaningfully. "Oh right, Willow came by yesterday. She even brought you a cake she made herself." My mom handed me a bag. When I opened it, inside was a mango cake. There was also a sticky note attached to it. "I didn't expect this to hit you so hard. I already convinced Maria not to make you apologize publicly anymore. She doesn't blame you now, so you don't need to hide from school because you're embarrassed." I clenched the note tightly in my hand and gritted my teeth. "I'm going. I absolutely have to go. If I don't smash this cake directly into Willow's face today, then I might as well spell my name backward." Chapter 10. Willow kept glancing toward the classroom door, visibly distracted. It had already been 3 days. George still hadn't come back to school. Meanwhile, Maria was full of excitement. The results were being released today. Finally, it was her time to shine. The class bell rang, and the homeroom teacher pushed open the classroom door. Looking at the eagerly expectant students below, she smiled and held up the score sheets. "This time," she announced, "I especially want to praise 2 students." Immediately, everyone's eyes turned toward Maria and Willow. Maria blushed slightly and straightened her posture proudly. The homeroom teacher continued, "This math exam was extremely difficult. Many students even failed, but our class had 2 perfect scores." The classroom instantly erupted into amazed reactions. Someone secretly whispered Maria's name. A girl commented, "Math used to be George's strongest subject. Looks like he really messed up this time." Another girl laughed. "Why isn't he here? I still wanted to watch that try-hard dude apologize." Hearing the noisy discussions around her, Willow suddenly felt uncomfortable. Frowning slightly, she said, "Stop talking and listen to the teacher." The homeroom teacher continued, "Anna, you did amazingly this time. Perfect score in math." Willow froze. Maria nervously tightened her grip on the corner of her clothes. The classroom also quieted down. Everyone was waiting for the second name, but suddenly, the teacher changed direction, and the other student with a perfect math score is also this year's first place overall. At that exact moment, the classroom door was suddenly pushed open. A teenage boy stood there in the doorway, backlit by sunlight, holding a cake in his hand. His appearance synchronized perfectly with the teacher's words. The homeroom teacher smiled brightly and announced, "George." It was like the dramatic entrance of the main character. Let's all congratulate him. Anna was the very first person to start clapping, looking at Maria's twisted expression. She clapped especially hard. "So cool, George." But what happened next was even cooler. George walked straight toward Willow, his face dark and expressionless. He suddenly smashed the cake in his hand directly onto her face. In Willow's disbelieving stare, George raised his hand and flipped her the middle finger. Chapter 11. Inside the office, the homeroom teacher looked at Willow and me with a serious expression. "George, do you and Willow have some kind of conflict?" I nodded, then calmly replied, "She drugged me before the exam to make me perform badly." Willow's face instantly turned ugly. Hearing that answer, the teacher's expression became even more severe. She turned toward Willow. "Is what George said true?" Willow panicked immediately. "He's lying. I never drugged him." Even the teacher looked reluctant to believe it. She frowned slightly and said, "George, could there be some misunderstanding? Haven't you and Willow been friends for over 10 years? I didn't feel like arguing. I simply took out my phone and prepared to play the recording." But suddenly, Maria burst into the office. Her eyes were red as she shouted, "Mr. Lee, he's lying. George likes Willow. After getting rejected, he started holding a grudge. I told Willow not to accept him, so now he hates me too. That's why he's making all this up to frame her." The moment I heard those words, my chest hurt from anger. It was my first time meeting someone so talented at making up lies on the spot. And then there was Willow. Her reaction was even faster. "Yes, that's exactly what happened, Mr. Lee." While saying this, she was so guilty she didn't even dare look at me. "Is that true, George?" the homeroom teacher asked again. I couldn't be bothered saying another unnecessary word. I directly took out my phone and pressed play on the recording. At first, Willow still looked confused, until her own voice sounded clearly from the recording. "I put cold medicine in your milk." In an instant, her face turned deathly pale. Looking directly at her, I said slowly and clearly, "Mr. Lee, I want to call the police." My voice was completely firm. Watching the panic spread across Willow's face, I spoke again. "Willow, I told you before, I never lose." The disappointment in the teacher's eyes toward Willow was overwhelming. The police arrived quickly, after understanding the situation, because no actual physical harm had ultimately been caused. Willow was only required to write a formal statement of guarantee and received serious disciplinary criticism. The teacher also contacted her parents. They rushed back overnight, then personally brought Willow to my house to apologize. Even they never imagined Willow could do something this foolish. When facing me, they couldn't even raise their heads. Honestly speaking, Willow's parents had always treated me very well. Every holiday or New Year, they would bring me gifts. After Willow apologized, my mother spoke coldly. "There's no need for our families to stay in contact anymore. You should focus on teaching your daughter properly." But my father was still dissatisfied. He stormed straight to the school, demanding that Willow be transferred to another class. He also insisted that both Willow and Maria apologize to me publicly in front of the entire class. So I sat quietly in my seat, watching Willow and Maria walk onto the podium one after another to apologize to me. The entire classroom was silent as death, and for the first time, the way my classmates looked at me finally contained fear. Willow's parents believed Maria had led Willow astray, so they forced her to cut ties with Maria completely. After Willow left, the homeroom teacher called Maria into the office alone. I didn't know what was said, but when she came back, she wiped away tears and silently sat down in the very last row of the classroom. Nobody wanted to sit beside her anymore. This time, she had only scored 660 points, dropping all the way to 8th place. Chapter 12. Winter break was short, only half a month long. My parents took me on a trip to Beijing. We visited both Peking University and Tsinghua University, and we even took photos together on campus. Afterward, my parents brought me to a house. They told me that after the college entrance exams, Our whole family would move there. It would make attending university much more convenient in the future. I stood quietly inside the room, watching the sun slowly climb higher and higher until it reached its peak. Sunlight flooded through the windows and spilled across the entire room. At that moment, my future felt just like that blazing sunlight, radiant and limitless. After returning home, I began another round of studying. The house across from ours remained tightly shut. Ever since the previous incident, I rarely ran into Willow anymore. Even when we crossed paths at school, she would keep a cold face and pretend not to see me. Her whole demeanor had become gloomy and resentful. In the first mock exam after the new semester began, I scored 720 points, still firmly seated on the throne of first place. Some students from neighboring classes even came to ask for my autograph, saying they wanted to absorb some luck from the exam god. I signed my name cleanly and wished them good luck. After they left, Anna walked up to me. "Hello, George." I curled my lips into a faint smile and greeted her back. "Hello." That was how Anna and I became friends. One day after class, my former desk mate, the girl who had moved away earlier, walked over slowly holding a mock exam paper. Her voice was tiny, almost mosquito-like. "I don't know how to solve this question. Could you teach me?" I frowned slightly. She immediately looked nervous. "If you don't want to teach me, that's okay too. Let me see it." Her eyes instantly lit up with excitement. That day, I patiently explained 2 different solving methods to her in detail. At the end, she quietly said, "George, thank you, and I'm sorry." From that moment onward, aside from the few people who were still close with Maria and Willow, everyone else also gradually started asking me questions. My popularity somehow improved out of nowhere. I genuinely didn't understand why. Because of Willow. On the rooftop, Anna handed me a red bean bun. One bite into it, and it tasted soft, sweet, and fragrant. Hearing her words, I turned my head toward her in confusion. Taking another bite of bread, she spoke vaguely while chewing. "Willow told everyone you had a terrible temper. She said you hit people even back in kindergarten and had been a school bully ever since elementary school. She told everyone to stay careful around you." I froze. Anna continued, "You always looked really serious and barely talked to anyone, and Willow had known you since childhood, so everyone believed her." What? Resting bitch face syndrome didn't do anything to anyone. No wonder I barely had any friends growing up. Turns out it was all because of that idiot Willow. My hand tightened unconsciously, and I expressionlessly crushed the bread flat in my grip. Then I immediately turned and walked away. Anna shouted behind me, "George, where are you going?" Without even turning my head, I replied, "To rip apart Willow's lying mouth." "Huh, George, don't act impulsively. Wait, forget it. Hold on, I'm coming with you." Anna hurriedly chased after me. Chapter 13. After school, Anna and I cornered Willow in a narrow alley. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up slightly. Softly, she murmured, "George, you." I cut her off immediately. "I only want to ask you one thing. For all these years, have you really been telling people behind my back that I had a terrible temper, that I was a bully who always picked on others?" Willow's expression froze. She lowered her head. Her lips trembled slightly. She didn't answer. That silence was her answer. I truly hadn't expected it. All these years, she had been stabbing me in the back the entire time. Growing up, I barely had any friends, and Willow had always told me that she was my best friend, my only friend. I couldn't understand why. Then there was only one possible explanation left. So I asked, "Willow, do you actually hate me?" The moment she heard that, Willow suddenly raised her head. Her gaze was incredibly complicated. Finally, she bit her lip lightly and frowned. "George, you really don't have a heart. You actually think I hate you. I only did all of that because I liked you. I like you. Do you even understand that? You've always been like this. No one can ever enter your heart. You only care about yourself. You always keep everyone at a distance. You never saw me, and you never cared about me. You were always standing so high above everyone else. I could never reach you. No matter how hard I tried, I could never reach you." By the time she finished speaking, her face was filled with despair. Her voice sounded shattered and miserable. Meanwhile, my own expression slowly calmed. "So that was the reason." I let out a cold scoff. "Your version of love really is cheap. Because you felt inferior to me, you chose to slander me in every possible way. That's not love. That's destruction. Willow, before coming here today, I was honestly furious with you. 15 years. Even raising a dog for 15 years would create attachment. I also felt unwilling to accept it. I couldn't understand why you suddenly became a completely different person. But now, I'm no longer unwilling. You're simply not worthy of my feelings. Whether that's friendship or love, we won't see each other again after this. This is the last time." As my words fell one after another, Willow's eyes gradually turned red, until eventually, Tears completely covered her face. Then I turned around and left with Anna. After we had walked far away, I heard a choked, trembling apology from behind me. The final sound shattered apart in the wind, and as we stepped out of the alley, I noticed the cherry blossoms near the school entrance had bloomed. Summer was coming, and so was the college entrance exam. Chapter 14. Very soon, it was time for the 100-day pledge ceremony before the college entrance exams. This time, I gave the speech as the student representative. At the very end, I gripped the microphone and confidently declared, "I, George, welcome anyone who wants to take my first place. I'm willing to accept any challenge, and I hope that 100 days from now, everyone here will harvest the seeds they planted." The moment I finished speaking, thunderous applause erupted below the stage. Within the crowd, I saw Maria lower her head. There was no trace left of the ambitious girl she used to be. Ever since the last incident, she had become an outcast in class. Her spirit was gone too. Every day, she looked absent-minded, her eyes swollen from crying. I also heard people say she had gone to Willow trying to reconcile, only to be rejected mercilessly. I didn't spare her another glance. Everyone chooses their own road, and that means they also bear the consequences themselves. 100 days passed in the blink of an eye. The atmosphere in class became increasingly tense. Everyone was working hard now. Nobody dared slack off anymore. 1 extra minute of studying meant 1 extra point. The night before the college entrance exam, I sat on the balcony with my parents watching the moon. We laughed and chatted while reminiscing about my childhood together. Not a single person mentioned tomorrow's exam, because they believed in me, and I believed in myself too. The next day, I stepped into the examination hall full of confidence and spirit. The 2-day exam period passed extremely quickly. When I walked out of the exam center, the setting sun had dyed the sky orange-red. So this was how beautiful a sunset could be. I sighed quietly to myself. In the distance, my mother held a huge bouquet of vibrant sunflowers. While my father smiled and waved at me, I waved back and happily ran toward them. My high school years were officially over. On the day exam results were released, even though I had already guessed the outcome, I still felt slightly nervous, until the line of text finally appeared on screen. "Your ranking has entered the top 50 in the entire province." I secretly let out a sigh of relief. After that, calls from university admissions offices began flooding my parents' phones non-stop, and I finally learned my actual score. 735 points. Number 1 in the entire province for science track. I was the provincial top scorer. Over the following days, congratulatory messages from classmates and teachers poured in endlessly. Anna invited me out to celebrate. We went shopping together, played arcade games, and drank sodas. Finally, we found a barbecue restaurant and sat down to eat. Anna's results were excellent too. She scored 700 points. Getting into one of China's elite C9 universities wouldn't be a problem for her at all. She asked me whether I would choose Peking University or Tsinghua University. I told her I wanted to work in aerospace engineering in the future, so I planned to choose Tsinghua University. Anna laughed and teased me. "So you're aiming to become number 1 in the universe now?" I proudly patted my chest and replied, "Of course, I'm George, after all." Just as we were joking around, suddenly, we heard the sharp sound of a plate crashing onto the floor. Chapter 15. When we turned around, it was actually Maria. She was wearing a waitress uniform. At that moment, she was crouched on the floor, frantically cleaning up broken plates and scattered utensils. After she finished cleaning, she lifted her head and accidentally met my eyes for a brief second. Then she immediately lowered her head and hurried away. Willow had mentioned before that Maria only had her grandmother left. Looks like she had started working part-time during summer break to support herself. Her college entrance exam performance was still fairly stable, although her score wasn't as high as that first monthly exam. Getting into a good university still wouldn't be a problem. Anna and I silently pretended not to notice her. There was no need to embarrass her further. After all, the worst things hadn't even been done by her. But when I came out of the restroom, Maria appeared in front of me on her own initiative. "George, honestly, I've always envied you. Your grades are amazing. Your family background is amazing. All you need to do is study. You never have to worry about anything else." I slowly looked toward her. Maria paused briefly before continuing. "Do you know, Willow was the only person who was ever kind to me. At that time, my parents had passed away. My grandmother had chronic illnesses, and I was almost unable to continue school. She donated money to help the girls at our school. She even bought menstrual care packages for us, so I remembered her name. At first, I only wanted the chance to repay her someday, but I never expected that day to come so quickly. Last year, during the city speech competition, I met her. She was wearing a white dress. She looked radiant and dazzling. She handed out drinks to everyone and even cheered me on. I turned my head slightly. Maria continued, I thought, so this is what a truly wonderful girl looks like. But then I saw her constantly serving you and taking care of you. And no matter what she did, you never reacted. You even made her cry. I froze for a moment, thinking back carefully. Something like that really had happened. But the reason was simple. Willow had been chattering nonstop in my ear during the competition. After it ended, she wanted to go see a nearby waterfall together. I had already been exhausted the entire day and told her I didn't want to go. Then she suddenly started crying. Maria continued speaking. She was such a good person. So why did you get to treat her like that? That's why I worked hard, transferred schools, and came here. I wanted to save Willow. I wanted her to wake up. But in the end, I still failed. George, I can apologize to you for everything that happened before. I only have one request. Can you treat Willow a little better? I was speechless. Now everything finally made sense. She had targeted me because of Willow from the very beginning. I tossed the paper towel in my hand into the trash can. Then I looked directly into her eyes and said, Maria, I once admired you. After learning about your family situation, I even respected you. You could have become your own strong female lead entirely on your own. But instead, you became obsessed with defeating me, amen, as proof of that. For a while, I genuinely considered you my rival. But the reason I treated you as a rival was always because of your grades. Never because of your gender. Even if you had beaten me, the only thing it would prove is that you were stronger than me. It wouldn't prove anything else. Scores can't be averaged. Honor can't be shared. Winning and losing exist only between you and me. That's all. I paused briefly before continuing. And one more thing. Back then, on the donor list, was Willow really the only name written there? That's right. I was actually the one who first suggested donating money to students struggling financially. After finding out about it, Willow insisted on joining me. She begged until I agreed. She told me she wanted our names written together on the same certificate. At the time, I thought that if she genuinely wanted to donate, then that was a good thing. So I agreed. Maria froze completely. I said nothing more and turned to leave directly. As I walked out the door, I heard quiet sobbing behind me. Chapter 16. On the way back. I leaned against the taxi window with my headphones on, listening to my favorite song. Anna asked me what I was listening to. I handed her one side of the earphones. A powerful, passionate voice rang out. You can be the greatest. You can be the best. And when the lyrics reached, you can conquer the world. You can win the war. Anna and I looked at each other and smiled. The music continued flowing through the air. You can be the master of your destiny. No need to wait for luck to arrive. The whole world will know your name, because you are the brightest flame of all.